going to be a long one today. 2 waters. How we all doing this evening? It is the Proto Man live stream, Transformer Slag podcast, Saturday night live stream. And I am your host, Proto Man. It is quite crazy how much news we had this week, so it's going to be pretty stacked. Hopefully we could get what we got this week and the super chats in also. It's going to be a busy one, to say the least. There's a lot of stuff to cover. A lot of cool stuff we got in the P.O. box, too. Big shout out to Michael Koo and all the other crew. I'll get into that in a moment. But let's do the news, shall we? Shall we? It's going to be a busy one. First up, let's get into Transformers Studio Series, but more of the Michael Bay-verse kind of stuff. So, this was stuff that leaked out. Some people already did kind of reviews of it. Typical stolen merch from the factory kind of stuff. We got our first look at Studio Series Revenge of the Fallen Jolt and Revenge of the Fallen Sideswipe. Now, Sideswipe, up to this point, his only Revenge of the Fallen version was more primarily based on his Dark of the Moon version. I've said this in the past. A lot of times Hasbro has the tendency to go with designs that are less popular first because people will make those purchases, and then go with the more popular and iconic designs and or color schemes later on, and they'll get a second purchase. So more people really like Sideswipe for his hard top Corvette kind of look, and I get a feeling this is going to be the one people are going to want to go with. The bigger talking point, though, is that of the Studio Series Jolt, the legendary character that had all of 5 seconds of screen time, but yet had a very pivotal role in the combining of the Jetwing Optimus Prime, the Jetfire Optimus Prime combiner from the movie. He looks pretty good. Up to this point, the best Jolt figure really was a Japanese repaint of the Dark of the Moon one, which also had a little bit of retooling. And that really was the go-to, and that Jolt was going for pretty good money, about $60 for a deluxe class back in the day. But now this one's come around. It looks pretty good, too. Different head sculpt on it, different kind of concept. Someone even pointed out to me that the thumbs on the Jolt are removable, and that's where the little energy whips plug into, is his thumbs. I guess so. When I have it in hand, I'll be able to confirm that. But, I mean, still looks pretty cool. I dig it. Again, going back to Sideswipe, hey, Sideswipe had a lot of really good toys based off his Dark of the Moon. Some really crappy toys, too. Fast action battlers and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. But, he had a pretty decent Human Alliance figure. His deluxe was pretty good, too, despite having some standing issues. Then, of course, the premium repaints that came later, too. So there's a lot going on between the two of them. But if you are a fan of these characters, despite the limited amount of words and or appearances by them, hey, you can get excited about it. That's all I could really say. We have no release date on when these are going to come out. These haven't been officially announced by Hasbro yet, but probably in the near future, a certain PulseCon panel will probably say otherwise, but we'll get into that later this evening. Next up, we have other stuff, too, that came from leaks, and it's that of 2 Amazon products. And more specifically, 2 Amazon products through the Transformers collaborative effort with Hasbro and companies. The first one here, we have the Transformers collaborative Transformers Amazon Prime mashup. We talked about this last week just in passing because we only just had the listing. Now we have more information from the actual listing itself through the little fine details, but we don't have any deeper images yet. So we know that the figure transforms into a licensed Volvo Amazon Prime truck. So there's a shot right there of what a Volvo Amazon Prime truck looks like. So that will help you a little bit to give you a bit of a visual. It even includes 2 small Amazon Prime boxes that could be stored in the back trailer. So a little extra accessory. I get a feeling they're going to take Energon cubes that we've gotten in the past and just paint them. That's probably the easiest way to go about it. Contains the Ion Blaster and Matrix of Leadership that fits in the chest. So that pretty much confirms with that line alone, if we didn't guess already, that this is probably going to be a Leader Class Earthrise Optimus Prime. I don't think Amazon should have the Matrix of Leadership, but that's my own personal opinion. I think they should have something a little more evil, in my opinion. But that's just my hot take. It's, again, also to confirm that it pretty much is the leader class Optimus Primes. The transformer of the Amazon Prime truck to robot mode in 37 steps. Reminder, the leader class Optimus Prime transforms in 35 steps. So probably those 2 extra steps are maybe, 2 extra twists and turns because of a different remold to make it more like the Volvo and less like, I guess, the Hino G1 Japanese 1981 flat nose truck that it's trying to mimic from back in the day. And lastly, they say here the packaging is going to have the iconic black and blue Amazon Prime adhesive strips. I guess they mean the tape that Amazon uses on all their packaging and stuff. So it's going to be part of the packaging. It's going to possess that. Sure, okay, whatever. We don't have a price yet. We don't have a release date yet. But yeah, I'm. Let's put it this way: I'm not a big fan of Amazon, let alone Amazon branded product. But we'll see what happens with that. Maybe when it goes on mega clearance after they realize no one wants this. But Amazon has a very good relationship with Hasbro. They've made a lot of money through their different efforts already, whether it be the Galactic Odyssey collection or the Battle Through Time collection. Already that stuff has been doing gangbusters for them, #1 bestsellers. So it's no surprise that they kind of want to have something that they could, call their own that's based off of their own branding through Amazon Prime itself. Whatever. It is what it is. Transformers Collaborative Transformers Dracula mashup is the other one that was listed. And the same thing, while we don't have any images, we do have the listing itself with the details of the figure. And so we could take from that what you will. It says here it's the Undead Decepticon Draculus. That's the official name they're going with. So we know that it's an evil character here. Dracula's figure comes with a cape, blaster, and impaler claw accessory. Some people have been speculating that this might be a repaint retool of the Mind Wipe Titan's Return mold based on that, but we shall see. I think we really have to wait and see because, sometimes the retooling on a lot of these collaboratives have been pretty extensive. So I don't think it'll be just... maybe it will be that mold, but it'll be pretty extensive that it won't be the case. That you won't really be able to go, oh yeah, that's totally the Mind Wipe mold. You want to see something that's like the Ectotron to Onslaught, where it's a big deal. It says here features black and white deco in robot mode, inspired by the black and white movie release starring the legendary Bela Lugosi. So Bela Lugosi, seen above there, was probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was definitely one of the first, if not the first, depictions of Dracula in the silver screen. And so they're basing it off of his iconic, legendary first appearance. And it says here the packaging is going to be inspired by the VHS of the 1931 movie Dracula. Again, there's Bela Lugosi on the cover of the VHS of the 1931 Dracula. So probably is going to do a throwback to that. I know big cinema files are going to be big on this. Angry Video Game Nerd. James Rolfe is a big Bela Lugosi, Dracula kind of fan. He loves Transformers, so this is something that's really up his alley. So I'm pretty happy for James. At least he'll have something that kind of has a mash of two things. It's kind of like for me if I got Mega Man and Transformers or something, or any kind of video game brand in Transformers, like Mario and Transformers. That would be kind of my jam. I'd really dig that. So pretty cool stuff. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to that. That one sounds very interesting to me because it involves the Universal Monsters kind of thing. It involves a lot of, a whole bunch of different crossovers and stuff. And again, like I said in the past, and I'll show again this image that I showed last week, it also kind of throws back to an old concept back in 1988, 1989 that Takara was playing with, where they wanted to do a subline of Transformers around the time of 88 and 89 called the Vintage Horror Movie Series, which was going to feature transformations of iconic movie characters like The Fly, the creature of the Black Lagoon, and of course Dracula. Obviously these are just sketch images that never went that far. You could actually see these images in much better quality in the Generations Guidebook featured in the top left over there, which I always suggest getting that book. That book is incredible. But yeah, so it's kind of cool to just see something that kind of almost revisits an old idea that even Transformers had back in the 80s. So pretty cool. I dig it. Now the big news of this week, and it's that of the Jurassic Park. and Tyrannocon Rex and Autobot JP93. We had an idea of what this was going to be about. I mean, we knew that they were going to do something with that T-Rex Megatron mold. We knew they were going to do something with the Ford hashtag. And now we finally have this all in front of us. It's pretty exciting. It's one of these things that the mint in box package is almost the whole story right there, where you even have the cardboard upside down Ford Explorer Jurassic Park vehicle that you have the Megatron strapped in to like be standing on. Looks pretty amazing. I really dig it. That mold that's being used for the Autobot JP93 could be potentially something used in the future. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's going to be skids or it's going to be this. We'll see. I'm not going to make any calls on that one. It looks like it's a large deluxe or a small Voyager. Again, it's hard to tell with the images, but at the end of the day, it's very exciting to see this. This is probably the most interesting of all the crossover stuff yet that has been put out. I mean, the DeLorean was pretty awesome. The Ecto one was pretty awesome. And the Ecto one reissue was pretty cool too. I wasn't feeling, as much as I love X-Men, I wasn't feeling that Expanse one and the Top Gun one. I don't know. I like the Top Gun soundtrack, but the movie and the designs, they're okay, I guess. But this Jurassic Park one is pretty hype. I really like what I see. Cool head sculpts, cool designs, cool everything. And it finally puts to rest there goes his leg. My bootleg one that I've had for years. Where's the leg? Let me go grab that. My bootleg one that I've had for years that had those JP colors. So it's nice to finally see something that puts to rest the use of that bootleg that has been kicking around for years. I think it looks fantastic. I really do. The only thing that, I could argue is the price, but even then I'm pretty sure there's some arguments for the price. Assuming that it is a Voyager scale for the Autobot JP93, we obviously know that the Megatron is a leader class. The price point that we have right here is $104.99. There's a $20 discrepancy there minimum. If assuming it's a Voyager and a Deluxe together, and a leader class together, there's a $20 more. But again, there's the licensing fees, there's the retooling, there's the big fancy packaging with the cardboard and everything. So I guess that closed the gap on it. I mean, we're not talking like the Expanse, which literally dropped 60% of its price at Target because no one wanted it. This is going to be pretty popular and it's going to do very well. It's going to sell even with people who are not Transformer fans just because of how cool it is and just the general idea. I dig it a lot. It looks really cool. I don't know what more I could really say aside from okay, let me ask you this. The head sculpt on the Autobot JP93, is it supposed to be Alan Grant? Or is it supposed to be that big game hunter guy that said clever girl and got killed? Because I think it's more Alan Grant because he was in those vehicles when all this stuff happened, where the big game hunter was off, chasing raptors and stuff. So I don't know. And people argue also because the gun that comes with the JP93, it's similar to his rifle apparently. I don't know. I can't confirm that. Someone in the comments, let me know if that's the case or not, because I haven't really been able to confirm it. But I dig it. I would have to say I'm like a casual fan of Jurassic Park. I really enjoyed the first movie, and I can't deny how important and iconic this movie is and how much it influenced everything. It influenced Beast Wars. Jurassic Park's success led to Beast Wars existing. Jurassic Park's success led to, Killer Instinct having a raptor in its game and all the little things that led afterwards. Hell, the Toronto Raptors basketball team, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't even be called the Toronto Raptors if Jurassic Park never happened. That's just how much of a cultural icon this movie is. And attaching something like Transformers that at one point also was a huge cultural icon that just changed the game after 1984 in terms of robots and the concept of transforming and combining. I mean, a beautiful marriage, if anything else. Let's see here. Michael says that it's Grant, but Michael Koo says it's the big game hunter. So, see, again, even other people aren't sure. We don't know. Well, maybe we'll get the when Hasbro maybe does their panels in the future, they'll probably get one of the designers to go deep into it, and we'll figure it out. Another collaborative thing too. There's a lot of them. A lot of them. This is the discussion. A lot of collaboratives. But then again, when you think about it, those collaborative people, they work together and make money. This is the more ugly one in my opinion, and it's that of the J Balvin x J Balvinatron. Call me an old man, but I have no idea who this is. Supposedly he's a very famous singer with millions of YouTube subscribers and YouTube video views and everything. But I mean, I looked up some of his songs. They're okay, I guess. Maybe not my style. But I mean, when 23 million views, I don't know, like the average Bon Jovi song has 23 million views on his music video. So I don't know. Look, I'll be honest with you. I really dig the laser beak. I think it's really cool, the details on the laser beak. I think that the Ravage is just pretty much a repaint of the same stripes Ravage that has existed before. So the cassettes look cool. The extra accessories are a nice touch. Even the rainbow colored blast effects, I really dig that. Almost, it looks like if anyone ever had the Cyclone popsicles back in the day, it reminds me of the Cyclone popsicles, the accessories. So try to stop me from eating those. But here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. And I said it in my segment about this too. When I saw this, the first thing that clicked in my mind was this reminded me of an old bootleg that I saw of Soundwave way back in the day in the late 90s in my Chinatown here in Montreal. And when I mentioned it, someone found an image of it. And bam, here we go. Look at that. So this was from 1998. This was a bootleg of Soundwave that was made of, SABS plastic. It's garbage plastic. It doesn't have the die cast in it. But it was a bootleg back in the day. And look at it. Look at it. It is literally, like, I wasn't crazy. I remember when I saw this Balvatron or whatever it's called, I was just like, this is giving me, like, flashbacks from, like, 20 years ago. Toy hunting in Chinatown for Transformer bootlegs. I mean, just put that smiley face on the chest and we're in business here. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's crazy when you think about it. And you know what? If J Balvin or Hasbro came forward and said this was an homage to an old, bootleg from the 90s, I would actually be intrigued. But I don't think they're that clever, and I don't think it cuts that deep. I think this is a super coincidence that this was the colors they decided to go with. And not only did they decide to go with that colors, it just so happens to completely mimic the garishness of 90s bootlegs from China of G1 Transformers. So, I mean, it is what it is. Again, I like the cassettes and I like the blast effects. So what are we talking here? The only way you can pick this up is you got to download the NTWRK app. And you could order it through the app. The orders start July 13th, which is actually very soon, at 12 o'clock at lunchtime Eastern Standard Time and at 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The MSRP is going to be pretty much $69.99, $70 USD. Now, see, again, Soundwave, when he was in Walmart, his reissue was $49.99. Now, granted, it didn't have the Ravage, it didn't have the extra accessories and the blast effects and stuff. So I guess, and of course, I guess they're paying a license to use this guy's name, which sure, Hasbro. But that's the $20 gap again, I guess. Sure, maybe, I don't know. Am I interested in this? I like the cassettes, I like the accessories, and the Soundwave, I don't know. Supposedly there's going to be 3,000 units of this, so there's going to be no shortage. We'll see what happens. I get a feeling this is going to be something that's going to be hitting eBay probably a month or so afterwards in large numbers, or probably sold through the Hasbro Pulse store. So there'll probably be other ways you could get it. Someone told me that downloading the NTWRK app, also you kind of also have to surrender some personal information. There's those user agreements. So proceed with caution with that. I don't want to encourage you people just to download something to get something if there's, I don't know, data mining kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. But I mean, it's if you want a bootleg, pretty much. If you want a bootleg. Again, it's I swear, I wasn't crazy. Next up, let's get into our Kingdom stuff and Wave 4. But first, let me take a sip. Wave 4, we have our Wave 4 Deluxes and Voyagers, although all we have here is the box art. This comes courtesy of Hasbro's Transformers.com. They had a whole bunch of other box art featured, but I mean, these are the really big ones we do want to talk about here, which is that of Autobot Pipes, the Predacon Shadow Panther, the Slammer, which is going to be an Autobot, and the Voyager class Tigatron. The big takeaway from all of these by these images, well, I mean, the Pipes is probably the least of a surprise. They went for Super Show accuracy. He's not just a straight-up repaint of Huffer, which I would hope so. But, you know, historically in the past, a lot of Pipes repaints and Pipes toys have just been Huffer repaints. So it's nice to finally get something that's its own deal outside, of course, the original 1985, 1986 molds. So that's really cool. When we get into Shadow Panther, the big surprise there was not so much the color scheme, but the choice to go with a mutant head. Some people are saying it's a clip-on accessory. I mean, that'd be really cool if that's the case. But I know Hasbro, they're going to make it that you get the mutant head with this one, and then it's going to make customizers and people want to buy two, so you could get a mutant head for your Cheetor, and then you could get an extra Cheetor, so you could have a regular head for your Shadow Panther. They do that all the time. That way they could get multiple sales out of this. But hey, Shadow Panther's a cool character, even got a masterpiece, you know, so I dig it. And the fact that it comes with the mutant head, that's really cool. Not to mention that Cheetor's reissue toy, which also sports the mutant head, will be on shelves at the very same time at that. I guess they're calling it a mega price point for the retro reissue vintage Beast Wars line. So, you know, if people are confused by the head on Shadow Panther, if they just pick up that reissue Cheetor, it'll all become very apparent. Now let's talk about Slammer. Slammer was the most interesting one of the bunch. Honestly, I was wrong. I thought it was going to be a white repaint of Warpath. It just kind of made sense, but it looks like Hasbro is still going to the modulator well and just trying to make the best out of those molds. Looks like it's a fusion of Airwave and I guess Ironworks with some retooling and taking some pieces from some of the other modulators, slapping it all together, and you got what is going to be potentially a very tank looking kind of modulator. And considering that at the same time Slammer is one of those characters that is historically linked with Metroplex, and modulators turn into city bases and they attach to things much like Slammer did back in the day, there's probably going to be some kind of connection there. There's going to be something there where this probably attaches to a Metroplex, either of the past or the future, combined with the fact that it probably turns into some kind of play set on its own. I'm really excited about this because I love the modulators. Anyone who saw my top 5 Transformers of 2020, the modulators made that list. So I'm digging it. I'm digging it a lot. I want to see what happens here. I'm actually glad that I was wrong and that it's not Warpath, because this gives me something of a concept that really didn't survive when we went into Kingdom, because modulators didn't sell well, weaponizers didn't sell well, and they went with the fossilizers instead with a new kind of gimmick and idea, and they just been milking those molds across all the different side brands, whether it be the Galactic Odyssey collection and the repaints that came from that, or Generation Selects with Grease Pit and Hot House and everything like that too. Pretty hype, pretty cool. I dig it a lot. I dig it a lot. Michael Koo says, I wouldn't be surprised if the mutant head is a test, I'm guessing, for next year's TF Batman mashup. Ooh, I don't know about that. No, I think it's just more they're just having fun. Heck, that mutant head back in the day when I used to look at it used to remind me of Greedo from Star Wars, if anything. Last but not least, we have the Voyager class Tigatron, and this one kind of disappointed me, and I remember people were commenting going, why are you surprised that a Tigatron is just a Cheetor repaint? Well, because I was really hoping that because it was a completely different price point, that they wouldn't just be a repaint and upscale of the Cheetor design. I was kind of hoping they kind of reinvent the wheel and maybe look at the Masterpiece toy that's available to find some kind of ideas and engineering cues. But when you look at this, you look at the quads, you look at the kneecaps, it clearly is the Cheetor mold just upsized, along with the fact that it comes with a whip, again, like the Cheetor toy. Hopefully this art is wrong. and it's something completely different. But I mean, has the art ever really been so different from the toy in the past, outside of maybe the wrong head sculpt being on the art? So we'll see what happens. I would like to be wrong, because in these kind of situations, I would really like to be wrong. But it looks like Tigatron, at least he's going to have a brand new head sculpt, and probably the whole shell itself of the Tiger is going to be brand new, and it's going to look good. But it's just the general transformation I'm not a fan of. Again, I didn't really like the way they did the feet of the back of the cheetah and how it moved up there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens ultimately in the end. Let's move on to the next thing, and it is that of the Transformers the movie Super 7 Wave 4 reaction figures. Now, these I always love. I know these are divisive with some people. Some people are like, oh, I don't understand why these exist. Some people love it. I love these. It's going to give me a Hot Rod figure that matches the magenta of the show and the movie. So I dig that. And also we get, a Galvatron, we get a King Starscream, and another Fallen Commander Optimus Prime. The reason why I say Fallen Commander Optimus Prime is because we actually got a Target exclusive one on the left there a couple months ago. But this one is actually more movie accurate because it actually has the open chest with the Matrix, and the Matrix is colored in. And it's actually more accurate because Optimus actually didn't turn gray until the Matrix was removed from his chest and his chest was opened up. Where I guess this gray one on the left, I guess it could be, Headmasters when he died the second time and he turned gray after he merged with Vector Sigma. I guess that's one way to put it. So again, Super 7 is going to be putting these out. This is going to be Wave 4. The planned release date is going to be September 29th, 2021 for this Wave 4. They're going to be $18 a piece. They will be showing up in retail, but will obviously should be showing up first on Super 7's website. So if you can't find them in retail, you have an alternative. You could go to super7.com and pick it up there too. And that makes the tally now of Super 7 and their reaction line that has been going on strong now for a while, up to 31 figures. That's a lot of Super 7 figures. That is a lot. And it looks like they're not stopping. There's still way more to come. So a lot of cool stuff there. Again, I dig what Super 7 does, even with their ultimates and everything. They very much are a company that's passionate about the geek hobby, and even their other non-Transformer brand stuff is really cool. So I really look forward to what they do. I really do. There's a lot of cool stuff there. Let's jump into some Cyberverse news. We got to see some new Cyberverse figures. The top left one being obviously the least interesting. The buzzworthy Bumblebee line is going to be doing a 4-pack of reissues of Warrior class Cyberverse stuff. So if somehow you are really jonesing for the Warrior class Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Megatron, and Starscream, they're going to be doing a 4-pack out there. Man, if you like Cyberverse, why would you get the Warrior class of these 4 when there's deluxe classes of these 4 available? I don't know. I guess, again, I've speculated for a while now that I feel the buzzworthy Bumblebee toy line is actually something that was originally made for the Chinese market, and it just found its way here because of what happened with the Big V in 2020 and stuff, and they had to pivot and put it with this market too. Let's talk about this Dinobots Unite, Transformers Bumblebee, Cyberverse Adventures, Transformers Cyberverse, whatever you want to call this line. Hasbro really needs to work on that. The Combiner Transform and Combined, or Roll and Combine as they call it here, similar to the Crash Combiners, Wheel Grim, a combiner of Wheeljack and Grimlock. Sure, you know what? The best thing I could take away from this is it's probably one of the better Wheeljack Cyberverse toys, because he only had a few and they're all not that great. I kind of dig the alt mode. It kind of has these cool little claws in the front, so that's pretty cool. Grimlock has had better figures. Grimlock has had tons of Cyberverse figures, so this individual Grimlock doesn't really matter. The combine mode is interesting. He has his Grimlock's crown in the combine mode, also kind of similar to Volcanicus when you really think about it. And then, of course, you have like the Dino, I guess, alt mode busting out of the chest xenomorph alien style. It's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. But at the same time, I don't know. You know what? Like, Cyberverse is notorious for having gimmicky based stuff that is part of the line that doesn't necessarily reflect what's happening in the show. When they did the Energon armor stuff, when they did the combiner armor stuff, when they, all of this stuff that they do, not necessarily reflects what's going to be happening in the show. Like Cheetor, when he showed up in the show, he didn't have a giant aircraft carrier for an armor that popped up in the show, and Optimus Prime didn't combine with the Ark. All those big price point toys that they put out there and gimmicky toys. So I think it's going to be kind of the same thing here, where we have all this combiner stuff, but at the end of the day, I really don't think it's going to be something that reflects the show. I think that there will be probably some kind of Dinobot combiner, judging by some of the toys that were listed, but otherwise I think we'll definitely see something else. And last but not least, and it's just in the top right there was a small image on Amazon that you couldn't click on of what was going to be a Warrior class Transformers Bumblebee Cyberverse Adventures Dinobots Unite Dead End. So Dead End is finally getting a Warrior class toy, which is really cool because Dead End, who was featured in season 3, he had one toy, and that one toy was the untransformable Scout class toys, where anyone who knows with Cyberverse, they have these Scout class figures that have gimmicks, but they actually don't transform. They half transform, but they don't actually transform into their alt modes. So Dead End was one of those, and that sucked. So at least now Dead End is going to have a transformable toy. It's a shame that it's the Warrior class as opposed to the more higher price point Deluxe class. But it's still better than nothing, and I still like it because Dead End was one of those cooler characters in Season 3 that just, added a little extra flavor in a lot of ways. Next up is something that when I saw it, I thought the internet was trolling me. And it's that of this... and it was that of this Studio Series 8610 sweep. When these images showed up, I literally thought I was being trolled. I thought that someone took a Scourge toy, literally flipped it over, like mirrored the image, and threw it back in the box, and then did some brand new box art or something. But this is legit, and it is a thing. So from what we could tell, and the top is the sweep, the bottom is the Scourge. From what we could tell, they took the Scourge mold and they flipped the mold so that it has, the hands essentially are flipped. So on the Scourge, the left hand is open and the closed hand is a peg for the gun. This way they flipped it around. So now with the sweep, the left hand is the peg for the gun and the right one is the open hand. Sure, I guess. I'm hoping there's a paint difference between the two and the images don't really show it. Maybe the sweeps could be a slightly lighter blue. But for it to be straight up almost exactly the same, except for one being left-handed and the other one being right-handed, I mean, there's memes that are going to be coming from this if this is true. But we shall see. It's bizarre. It's really bizarre. Part of me still feels this isn't real. But supposedly it is. I don't know. This is very weird. Very, very weird. Either way, it's weird. Hopefully we'll get more information when we get to the convention season coming up. And let's get into that right now because we have 2 conventions coming up of note worth. And it is that of the Renegade Con Virtual Special Edition, which is a tabletop and TCG convention, which Renegade is going to be running, and it's going to be happening Friday, July the 16th, going into Sunday of the 18th, and there's going to be multiple panels that'll be online throughout the day. The ones that are of note for us as Transformer fans is on Friday at 4 p.m. They're going to be talking about the future of the company and what they're going to be doing with all the Transformer brands, including Transformers. And then on Saturday at 2:30, They're going to be talking about role-playing games, and more specifically a Transformers role-playing game that they're working on. So we're going to probably get some cool D&D style kind of stuff for Transformers. So that's pretty exciting for a lot of people that are into that. We might even see some miniatures. Who knows what we'll see from that, but that's pretty exciting to hear about. At 6:30 p.m., they're going to be doing a live play showing you how the Transformers deck building game is done, how to play it, and all the cool stuff with that. So if you're curious about this game that's coming out, tune in at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time to check out how to play it. And lastly, at 8 o'clock at the end, they're going to be giving away some prizes. And how could you win? They're going to test your Transformer knowledge. So if you want to get some free prizes and stuff, tune in for that. All July 16th to the 18th. Whole bunch of cool stuff. Check Renegade's website or Renegade Con to get more information. The Transformers deck building game is coming, and it is pretty hype. Next up is also the Hasbro PulseCon 2021. This is probably where we're going to learn about all this stuff that we've just discussed in a more official capacity and probably get from the word's mouth of the actual designers from Hasbro. So, we don't have an exact date yet, but they said fall of 2021. So, August, September, probably in that bubble. I just hope it doesn't clash with some of the other cons and stuff, but pretty exciting otherwise. I really want to see what we haven't been revealed yet of all the stuff that we've had been teased up to this point. All the listings, all the crazy stuff. So, I want to see it. I want to hear about it. Hasbro needs to do more of these, and one of them is coming. So definitely mark these 2 conventions on your calendar to check out, to learn more new information. Or you could just watch me on the podcast if you enjoy that instead, if you'd rather hear it from me. And last but not least, and it's something that I talked about on my Instagram, and I talked about it on my Twitter, and it's a side project that I've been working on for the past half year. It's been a whole bunch of different meetings with different individuals from Hasbro, Kenner, and stuff. And it's that of a side podcast that I've been working on that made its debut of its trailer and episode 0 of the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer. So this is a project that I've been working on with Hasbro's Aaron Archer. And essentially what it's going to be is we are going to dive deep into the weeds of how toy lines are created. More specifically, we're going to tackle individual toy lines throughout the years that people like us have grown up with, and all the behind-the-scenes stories and working with Hollywood and everything like that, and all the cool stuff related to it, whether it be the Batman series and all the different Batman brands, being animated series, the movies, all the media-based ones like the Dark Knight series, Night Force Ninjas and stuff like that. When we get into stuff like all the other brands that Kenner did, whether it be Jurassic Park, actually that was Hasbro, but Aliens and everything like that. There's so many stories. Star Wars we could get into too. There's going to be a lot of interesting stuff to discuss, a lot of stories, a lot of cool things, and I'm excited to do it. It's been something that has been happening behind the scenes for easily a while now, and there's a lot of cool stuff that's going to be bubbling up from this. I don't want to spoil, but it's really cool. There's just a lot of stuff. So if you're interested in this, guys, just check. I mean, I'll obviously, when we do the replays of these segments, I'll put it in the pinned comment below and in the description. But if you want to afterwards, if you want to subscribe and just listen to episode 0. Episode 0 is essentially just a trailer. It's only 8 minutes long. Just trying to give people an idea of what this is going to be about. And what's cool about this one too, as opposed to, let's say, the Transformers Slag podcast, it's more of a visual podcast. So while it is me and Aaron Archer and whatever our guests will be talking, we will be posting images on the screen of what we're talking about to give you guys a bit of a visual to understand what's being discussed. So it's something that we're really looking forward to. It won't be a regular daily kind of thing. This is more of a long form. Once in a while we'll upload a video and we're like, hey, we're going to talk about the entire history of Episode 1 Star Wars and how the toys were designed from the people who designed those toys and worked on them, and the stories behind them, and meeting George Lucas and going on the George Lucas Ranch. Like, we're going to be talking with those people. This is a incredible thing that we're doing. We're bringing to the real world, these stories that should never be lost, that should be recorded and given out, because people grew up with these brands, and it'd be cool to hear those stories. So again, the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer, it's on YouTube right now. Check it out. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully we'll have episode 1 out soon enough for you guys. We're really trying to pace it so that you guys will be not overflow with content, but at the same time, we don't want to give away everything right away. So we'll definitely jump into that when we get everything ready. But it's going to be really fun, so definitely check that out. We have a super chat. We got Andrew Decker saying, do you think the micro figures from the Ark and Unicron will still continue? You're referring to the slugs, and yes, they will. Hasbro has shown interest in doing more slugs for the future. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Andrew. There is going to be more slugs. They even said on the... Actually, I have the Unicron stand right here, oddly enough, because my Unicron is right there. All of these little stands are going to be filled in. And right here on this one, there's 10 slots. So they got plans. Waspinator has plans. But thank you for the super chat, my friend. But that's definitely a reality. Let's just get into I want to just mention also our sponsor, which again, we just talked about working with Hasbro. Again, Hasbro and Symbiote Studios. They hook us up with our plush. There's our Starscream back there. Today is Starscream. Last week it was Optimus, and the week before that it was Grimlock. They do their plushes, the t-shirts, the G.I. Joe, the pins. I mean, I'm sporting it. This is the Optimus Prime shirt today. The pin series from the Optimus Prime dual pin series. And of course, we got Starscream chilling in the back over there. So if you want to pick up Starscream and B, the reason why I'm showing Starscream is because he's selling out very quickly. And so is B. Those are the low stock guys. So if you haven't got those yet, definitely swing by symbiotestudios.com and pick those up. They're looking pretty sweet. And speaking of Hasbro brands, they're also working on another famous Hasbro brand. So be sure to get ready for that. It's in development right now. A whole bunch of plush and a whole bunch of fun from someone who's very green with evil. It's pretty hype. Thank you, Symbiote Studios and Hasbro, for the sponsorship and all the crazy stuff that we do here. Now then, guys. Man, 50 minutes of news. Ooh. And no more water. Let's crack in number 2. Alrighty. So we got another hour or so left in the podcast, so we're going to jump into Super Chats. But before we do that, I just want to tackle the P.O. Box, the Transformers Slag P.O. Box, and what we got this week, and also what we got just kind of hunting around. I didn't find much stuff hunting around this week. The only thing that I want to bring up was I collect vintage Beyblades, another Hasbro Takara property, or Tomy property, and I managed to find some ones that I don't have. This is the Cerberus die-cast ones, which are pretty cool, and it even has the original launcher. Usually these two get lost all the time, so pretty cool that I found that one. And then the Basalt one too, pretty awesome. Really dig that. I love vintage Beyblades. I'm not too big on the burst stuff, except that when they do designs that are based on Metal Fight or Plastic Generation 1, I kind of like dig those ones more. They have more of a fancy aesthetic to them and more of a mix-up. But pretty hype nonetheless. I was very happy to find those for ridiculously cheap in the secondary market. And last but not least, and this was a crazy one, this was from the P.O. Box. Shout out to Michael Koo, who sent this. I was shocked what was in this box. I had to take off the shipping labels on this. I mentioned on the podcast that I recently, here, I'll just show it because I brought this too for reference. I picked this up 2 weeks ago. My friend Pulse Dragon hooked me up with it, and essentially he got it for me because I wanted the orange Shy Guy. And I mentioned on the stream how I was looking for the blue Shy Guy to kind of complete my set of them. And Michael Koo sent me the blue Shy Guy, but he also sent me pretty much everything else. Pretty much every other one. And I was shocked. Thank you, Michael. Like, wow, that's pretty hype. Especially the Donkey Kong one. That one was really cool. I wasn't thinking of getting that one, but another thing that he sent me, and what was really cool about that, because that was something I could not get in stores at all, was he also, when I saw this, he sent me the Transformers Kiss Treasure Surprise Box, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I wonder which one I'll get. And the chocolates, sure. Actually, he just emptied it out and gave me the full set. So that was pretty hype of him. So now I got all of those too. I'm going to definitely try to do a little photo shoot with these because they're pretty cool. They almost like are the same size with Unicron, so I think I'll do a photo shoot with that. But again, thank you, Michael. That is so awesome. Every time I get something in the P.O. box from fans, it's much appreciated because that's pretty cool. You know, that's pretty cool. And that's why anytime someone's going to send something, I'm going to give them a shout out here on the stream and let them know that that's pretty awesome what you guys did. You know, pretty awesome stuff, my friend. Pretty cool. So then, let's get into some super chats. And just make the best of the rest of the evening. The news ate up a lot of time. Again, thank you, Michael, and everybody who helped support the podcast and stuff, especially through Patreon and everything, too. We got a super chat here from Trevor. And Trevor wants to know, Trevor Stasic. I hope I'm saying that right, Trevor. He wants to know, is there any word yet about what the toys will look like for the new Nickelodeon show? How the new wave of bots for the upcoming show will be and when? You know what's funny? Like, Hasbro has been very weird when it comes to any of their brands that are not War for Cybertron. Like, it's weird because when we have stuff like Cyberverse, right? Like, just before we get to your answer, all the Cyberverse product, we're like learning for the first time when it shows up in stores. We get no reveals or like, hey, IGN, we're going to send you a package of images so you could create hype for Cyberverse Season 4 or Cyberverse Season 3 or Cyberverse Season 2. Everything we would learn for the first time literally would be in stores. I remember the very last toy fair that we had before the world went crazy. Literally, Cyberverse had a small section in the corner and no one was paying attention to it, and like one person took a photo of like the tiny turbo changers. You know, it was so crazy. So I'm worried that it's going to be the same thing with this Nickelodeon series and bots, where is there toys being planned? Is there an aesthetic? Is there stuff? For sure, probably. But I think Hasbro's just not interested in creating hype for it. I think that they're more focused on War for Cybertron and the Netflix stuff and the collaboration stuff and all of that. And this stuff is kind of on the side. And me and you are probably going to be like, hey, we found the Nickelodeon toys at Target. Like, that's going to be the first time we see news for it. All our deluxe Cyberverse stuff was found for the first time when a person got the cases in Target in the stock room and opened it up and took photos. You know, and I think it was a Walmart even. So we'll see what happens with that. They have this is only recently, because it used to be back in the day that the main line was what the show was. So like if the main line would be Armada, Energon, Cybertron, Animated, Prime, that was mainline. And then when the movies started to become huge, they were kind of mainline on the side with it. And Generations, Classics, Universe, whatever you want to call it, they were a sideline, along with alternators and titaniums and all that. But it's kind of flipped. Now it's like the nostalgia-based stuff that would have been titaniums, that would have been alternators based off of classic characters, and of course the Generations line, have become the main line, have become the focus, have become the TV shows. And the sidelines, like a Bumblebee movie toy line or like, Cyberverse, they're the lines that no one ever really talks about on a public, press release kind of thing. Sure, people are buying it and discussing it like me, but I mean like big press kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens with that, but it's very bizarre that they really didn't make a push with Cyberverse, and I fear that the same thing is going to be happening here. I really do. I really, really do. But anyways, thanks for the super chat, my friend. Like, I hope that we learn something in the future. Michael Koo says, the Hershey Transformer stuff was from last Christmas, but was available through spring. Yeah, because I remember I did a report about it. I did a segment about it a while back, and I was looking forward to picking those up because I love like tiny Transformer stuff because I could put it on my desk on top of my tower here and everything. So I really like that kind of stuff. But then of course now that Unicron exists, it's just cool little tiny figures that could fit in his hand and everything because we don't have many tiny Transformers that are of that scale. I mean, like the closest I could think of is like, you know, the Microverse Beast Wars stuff back in the day, or, you know, and the only thing even closer to that would be maybe the Titaniums, which are like 3-inch. So, and of course, obviously the world's smallest Transformers, but those are a little pricey, so I don't expect a lot of people to pick those up. But it's still pretty awesome. Still pretty awesome. So again, Michael, thank you for that. We'll jump into another super chat question. What do we got here? Proto Man, did you ever compare HasLab Unicron to Beast Machine's Cheetor? No, I haven't, but you know what the funny thing is with Beast Machine's Cheetor? I'm looking at HasLab Unicron now. Beast Machine's Cheetor, unfortunately, is one of those Transformer toys that, depending how you transform him, he could potentially be the tallest Transformer toy ever made, because his legs, they extend, and obviously, I mean, Beast Machine's Cheetor, the Supreme class, already has standing problems to begin with. I mean, I keep mine in, you could barely see it, the Beast Machine sections over there. I keep mine in cheetah mode just because I don't need it like all of a sudden just crashing down and falling over. And not to mention, I find it takes a lot of space. Like, to have something that tall in display, it's better just keep it in cheetah mode and put all the deluxe figures around it instead. And the way that it was always advertised, at least back in the day, was, oh, it's as big as a house cat. So I want to have it like that because it's, yeah, it's big as a small house cat. I don't know. If you've had a fat house cat, then I wouldn't think so. But yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Let me jump into another question here. Let's see. Super chat. What do we got? Proto Silver here's Mario Kart Hot Wheels. I didn't know that. Yeah, they've been around for a while now. About 3 waves, I believe, and big play sets. Proto, Toys That Made Us is good for learning about history of toys, but Toy Armada is going to be the wrestling bios of 80s wrestling. Well, you know what? Funny thing is, Toys That Made Us had Aaron Archer on it. Aaron was on it too, so he was brought on. But, you know, the thing with Toys That Made Us, and I like Toys That Made Us. Toys That Made Us was good in the sense that if you had like an hour to condense a 30-year history of a brand, I'm not going to knock them for it. You know, like, it's not easy to go, okay, we have an hour and a half to tell the entire toy history of Transformers. You're going to miss stuff because you're going to want to have to spend time explaining what Diaclone and Microman is and Henshin Robo and that era. That's going to be 15 minutes right there. Talking about Takara, talking about, you know, the Japanese Toy Fair in 1983 and Hasbro going there. That's going to eat up time right there. And then, you know, by the time you just get to like the end of G1, you've already done an hour. You know, let alone talking about the importance of Beast Machines, talking about, you know, the downfall, and then going into Unicron trilogy, and then a second dip, and then going into the movies, and the movies reinvigorating the line, and then how Ninja Turtles came around and kind of influenced Transformers and how their aesthetic direction was going to be, and Micro Machines. Like, if you really went deep into the weeds of it, you would need, like, it would have to be a multi-part series. It'd have to be like 6 parts of just Transformers. And considering I'm like big fans of a lot of the other toy lines that they discussed in that, like wrestling and He-Man and stuff like that, where it's like, well, I'm not a huge fan of He-Man, but I know the brand very well as a result because of being someone who buys and sells toys. You can't cover everything. It's very difficult to do that. So they did a good job within the limitations that they had. Some of the Netflix documentary stuff, I'm not counting Toys That Made Us, but some of the other Netflix documentary stuff is pretty garbage, and that's why I avoid a lot of it. But that one was actually very good. And they made an effort to bring in a lot of different people from different walks of life. That was cool to have. I was told by, you know, some of those people that they recorded like, you know, 2 hours of voice clips, and they would sometimes only use 3. So it's, you know, there's a lot of B footage and stuff on the cutting room floor that I'm sure was left out too. But it's a good series. It's a good series. Toy Armada is going to be like really digging deep. It's going to be like an uncensored into the craziness of the hobby and everything that's going on. And, you know, like, why does, you know, Batman Returns Robin have a flat top? you're going to find that out. You know, like all the crazy stories with those toys and the behind the scenes history of it. Roman wants to know, will there be more Transformer Prime figures in the future, Proto Man? There's rumors going online. I have this list in front of me, and I don't trust the legitimacy of this list yet, so I haven't discussed it on the podcast. But there's rumors kicking around of a Transformer Prime resurgence going into 2022. Brand new figures, homaging those old characters and those old designs in some kind of a Transformer legacy line. Nothing is confirmed yet. I'm not comfortable talking about it because it's not 100% information. So when I feel there's more meat on the bone and more legitimacy from the sources, I'll bring it up. But there has been rumors of it. But I won't say that it's anything legitimate. But thank you for the super chat question, my YouTube member. Horned Owl, another YouTube member, says, if you do a He-Man episode, do you know who Spectre Creative is? He would make a great guest for He-Man history. We do know who he is. We know the individual in real life. He would be cool to have. It's something that, again, like the thing is that, like, honestly, what we're going to do first is we're going to stick within the Kenner and Hasbro brands. So anything that was Kenner or Hasbro, we'll stick with those. And that's already tons of toy lines right there. Afterwards, we're thinking of like, we'll call in other people and we're going to bring them in and whatever they're comfortable talking about. Because we first want to show other individuals what the show is about. Look, Transformers Slag. The reason why it's called Slag is because it's a swear word in Transformers. We wanted stuff to be uncensored. We talk about the craziness and the realness of Transformers and how stuff is made. And the toy Armada is going to be the same thing, except a whole bunch of different brands. Transformers is going to come up too. Don't think there's no Transformers. Transformers is going to obviously come up also, but it's going to come up. But I feel that even episodes that won't interest you, it'll be interesting because you'd be surprised how many times something in one line affects the future of another. Like, did you know the Terminator line by Kenner and the fact that it was called Future Wars led to the name of Beast Wars? Like, there's so many connections between all these lines. It's a giant like family tree, and they're all interconnected from the roots that is Hasbro and Kenner. And we're going to go into those cool stories and everything like that. But yeah, we're for sure in the future there's going to be other people, and we have those contacts. You know, we have those contacts, so it's definitely going to come up at some point. Grumpy Goat wants to know with the super chat, hey Proto, kept up with the heavy metal beta? If so, is it still jank or does it spank? Also, ever consider going full bald? It's very freeing. Nah, I'm gonna hold on to it. As for the heavy metal beta, I have been playing it. It still is pretty lacking right now. I will say this, and it's all I could really say from an NDA standpoint. I've been in talks with Niantic about the game, and let's just say there's going to be a closer relationship between me and that game in the future, and you guys will hear more about it when the time comes. Obviously, there's stuff I cannot discuss about, but right now, the beta stages are just in New Zealand. They're opening stuff up. Essentially, when I talked about it on the podcast, we opened up a dialogue. Right now, essentially, if you could play it, there's not much available for North American players right now, or Canadians, which are part of North America. But, you know, if you're an American or in Mexico or whatever. But if you log in every day, you do get a login bonus where you open up an Energon Cube and get Energon Cubes and repair kits. So making an account early, even though there's nothing for you to really do right now except getting used to how the game is, you at least could kind of get bonuses building up to it. So I'm not going to say how you could get it because technically, legally, you shouldn't be able to play it right now. But there is ways to play it right now. So check it out if you can. I can't wait when the game finally launches because there's a lot of cool stuff going on behind the scenes, and it's going to be pretty hype. Mini cons. Got to catch them all. Eastman777 with the super chat question, and he wants to know, well, he said, sorry about the Habs. Yeah, man, we're getting clobbered. We're getting clobbered. You do not want to sit next to me during those games. I am yelling at the screen like crazy. Sorry about the Habs. 2 questions. Can you track how many copies of a TF are made and sold? What is your favorite American issue, Action Master or Pretender? Okay, those are easy answers for me, for sure. Number 1, the tracking of copies. So when it comes to vintage Transformers, that information is not available because back in the day, there were so many more individual mom and pop stores that used to buy cases of Transformers. I mean, when Toys R Us kind of came around in the mid to late 80s and more so into the 90s, a lot of those smaller toy stores closed down, and then it was kind of easier to figure out distribution because then it's like, Wally World with Walmart and then Toys R Us, and it was a lot easier to kind of like, today especially, like today it's like you literally just have to sit down and go, how many Walmarts, Targets, Walgreens are there? How many, what do those stores on average usually carry? And then you combine that with the fact of, obviously you have individual comic stores that through Preview Magazine or Diamond Distribution might buy a case of something once in a while. Or if it's your local toy store, like toy specific store. But usually it's a lot easier today to kind of figure out distribution. Back then it's like really tough. It's really tough because sometimes we don't even know sometimes like what was carried where. Like still to this day, like, did like Sears back in the day, did it ever get skids? Like who was a late, wave 2 1985 Autobot car. Like we don't know those numbers. So, and I don't think we'll ever know those numbers because the people who were alive back then that worked on it might not even be alive anymore. And we just don't have the data. But today it's a lot easier to kind of figure it out. And, but I will say this, it's in the millions. A lot of retail product, there's so much of it. It's absolutely crazy where I wouldn't worry too much about it. When stuff hits under like 3,000 units, then it's a little more like, ooh, okay, there's something special there. But, that's why I always say like when you have like retail product, like, how many reissue Walmart G1 hot rods there must be out there? Holy moly. There must be tons of them. Millions. Not millions, maybe like 500,000 for sure. In the case of the Walmart research, they didn't have Toys R Us presence or Target presence or Walgreens. So, second question is, what is my favorite American issued Action Master or Pretender? Action Master probably is always going to fall on Mainframe. I've always loved the design. When I first saw Mainframe back in the day, as like revisiting the brand in the 90s and stuff, I always thought as him as like if Braver from Transformers Victory, who was one of the Brain Masters, if he was an Action Master. Like he had similar colors, and I really liked that a lot. So I always loved it. And it's the same thing. It's why I love here. I still have him on my table. Roboto from He-Man. He has a very Mainframe kind of aesthetic, and even his gun is very similar to Mainframe's gun. So I really like, and also they have like gears in their chest. So both of them. So I love Mainframe, hands down. He's always going to be my favorite Action Master. I have 2 custom-made Action Masters by a friend of Hot Rod. I have Hot Rod Action Master, and I have Dark Rodimus Action Master. It's on my collection photos if you want to see pictures of those. They fall apart very easily, though, because Action Masters, when you start painting them, the paint kind of damages the plastic. And so he took, I forget what he used as the base molds. I think he used 2 sound waves, and he kind of like sculpted them, and they're gorgeous, but man, they don't last the test of time. Pretender shell that's USA, that's a little bit of a tougher one. I would lean more on Decepticon stuff like Thunderwing and Bludgeon, but those are like easy answers because those are like, comic book characters that are really iconic. So let's ignore Thunderwing and Bludgeon. And they're all there, by the way. That's a tough one. Let's go with... maybe Landmine, because he's kind of classic. Landmine's one of the cool ones. Yeah, let's go with Landmine. I really like Landmine. He's a cool guy. Turns into the car. Likes dating the chicks in Master Force. Well, he was called Lander in Master Force with the shades. Let's go with him. He's pretty cool. But thank you for the super chat question, Eastman777. Pretty cool stuff. Let's move to the next super chats. We got a whole bunch here. Let's scroll down. Proto Man for TF Heavy Metal. Does this mean there's going to be Autobot called Proto Man now? No. So essentially, and honestly, if they would do something like that, it should be a red Formula One car named Proto. Who knows? Maybe in the future. An original character. No, essentially how it works is that it's you who's in the game. You're a human called a Guardian that works with an Autobot. You start with Bumblebee, and as you catch more mini-cons and get into more fights with Decepticons, you level up your personal level. You're also leveling up your Autobot partner, but you're also leveling up your own personal level. And as you level up your own personal level, it opens up the doorway to other Autobots that you could use instead as your teammate. And at the moment right now that I could publicly say, Windblade, Wheeljack, Chromia, and I feel like I'm forgetting one. And Hound are available right now, but that could all change. I mean, it's the same thing like Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go, it was, in its early inception is nothing like what it is today. And it's the same thing. I imagine down the line, we're going to have that you could be Decepticons, you could unlock Decepticons. There's going to be a whole other wrinkle to it. It's all in the early stages, but I feel that the game is going to be extremely hype. And what I love about it is because seeing how Pokemon Go was used throughout the years at BotCon and at TFCon, and how it had communities based on some, outside of Transformers, people are coming to TFCon and playing Pokemon Go. Imagine if you have a Transformer game that has that Pokemon Go flavor, which it is. It's going to be so cool. That's going to be such a cool element, and I can't wait to see how that unfolds. Not just with the fandom, but the world as a whole, because Pokemon Go, man, let me tell you, I mean, we all know it. It took the world by storm. It really did. People who were not Pokemon fans were playing Pokemon Go. A lot of people. I had friends that were like, couldn't be any more removed from being gamers and geeks, but they were people that had cell phones. And I get a message. But the crazy thing is that even though that's the case, they're not gamers, they just have a cell phone. Pokemon Go spoke to them for some reason because it created this like community, and the AR system and everything is so cool. The voice acting surprises me how good the voice acting is. It's better than War for Cybertron. So get hyped about it. Get your phones ready. All I can tell you this is if you don't have an iPhone 6 or above for iPhone, you're going to be in trouble. You have to have iPhone 6 minimum to run it, because that's what you're going to definitely need to be able to play the game. So if you don't, make sure you're up to date. I mean, I had a Potato for years, and I had to update it for Pokemon Go. So, and for Android, I'm not too sure. I apologize for that. I'm not familiar with Android devices, as I technically I should be. I actually think Android devices are better not my iPad, my tablet is an Android device, and I have a lot more freedom with that. But either way, I think it's hype. Definitely check it out when the time comes. I think the community is going to be really brought together with that. But thank you for the super chat, Michael, and thanks for the Mario Kart stuff. Princeton Phalanx 59 with the super chat wants to know, hey Proto, do you think Hasbro will ever do a Generations Diaclone colors like with their masterpieces? Oh, 200%. Look, what is Road Rage? Yes, Road Rage is a female character that we got in eHobby back in the day and then was done as a masterpiece. But what is Road Rage's history? That's what the Trax Molds color scheme was. It was the red colors. There's old Transformer art from the back of the box where Trax was colored in red because they were basing it off of the Diaclone colors. So I think 100% for sure. Any character, if Hasbro has a repaint potential, they're going to go with it. They're going to try to find something that they could do. And for sure that's going to happen. For sure. Like, I mean, Ultra Magnus at some point is going to get those Diaclone colors. Jazz, he actually is already rocking his colors. But even if we get that Skids mold, if we get a Skids toy, right there, look at what they're doing already with Masterpiece, with all of that. So we'll definitely see more for that. I know for a fact, 100% that they're going to be doing stuff like that, because especially even if not from a Hasbro Selects, Generation Select standpoint, because there's definitely a lot to do there. But thank you for the super chat question, and for sure you're going to see those repaints, for sure. It's just a matter of time. Soundboard with the super chat question. He wants to know, do you collect GoBots? If so, favorites on both sides. Yes, I do. I flip and love GoBots. I actually have, I'll just try to show you up here. I have a wall of GoBots. If you look up there, sorry about that, gets in the way. It's the light for the podcast. There's a wall of GoBots mint on card. Now I just messed up the camera. Let me fix that. There we go. I have a beautiful, huge GoBot display under the G1 collection there. I love the Japanese version of GoBots, Machine Robo, even more so. But I buy any GoBot that I'm missing. I love GoBots to death. It's something incredible. In fact, something that I'm working on the side for the patrons of the higher tier might be GoBot related. As for my favorites on both sides, it's always been on the Guardians side. It will be Vanguard, 100%. So much so that my own selfishness of loving Vanguard, when the TFCon exclusives in 2013 had to be decided, and we had to decide repaints of characters, I was pushing for Vanguard, and Vanguard ended up becoming one of the exclusives. And I got to write the comic with Alex Milne and everything. And Josh Perez did the colors. And that was really cool to do a GoBot comic with Alex Milne and Josh Perez and everything. And feature Vanguard, my favorite GoBot. And my favorite Renegade is Fightor. I love Fightor. Always thought he was a cool design. Always felt that he was one of those characters that if they wanted to do a Generations toy, like they could just take one of the cone heads, like one of the jet cone heads, and just do the Fightor colors on it. And it would just be so easy. And Fightor in the Japanese version of GoBots called Machine Robo, he's a character called Blue Jet, even though he's red. I did a huge review of Blue. Like, if you look at my history with GoBots, I got to write a comic book. I did a huge panel back in TFCon 2010 about the history of GoBots and the secret history of GoBots. I don't know if the footage is online anymore. I think Nemesis Predaking was the one who recorded it, but he nuked his channel recently, so I don't think it's up anymore. I got to work on third-party exclusives, and, I do a whole bunch of YouTube videos praising GoBots, because I love GoBots. Love them. Love GoBots. Growing up, I had just as many Transformers as I did GoBots, because they were cheaper and easier to get. And also when they would get bootlegged, you'd more likely get a bootleg of a GoBot than a Transformer. So I have a lot of connections with GoBots growing up. And I like their designs. And again, every time I could get a cheap carded one, I add it to the wall of GoBots. Like I have Fightor, I have Vanguard, I got Dive, I got Spacey, I got Slicks. I love Slicks too. Slicks is another personal favorite because he's a Formula One. But I like the black and yellow version, not the full yellow version. And GoBots had play sets. And I love the GoBot play sets. I love the HQ. I love the Renegade shuttle play set. Like, they had such cool stuff. It's, again, it's a shame the show was done by Hanna-Barbera. And it was kind of meh, unfortunately. But thank you for the super chat question, Soundboard. And we have only half an hour left. What is going on? We have flown today. What is going on? Let's see. We'll go into... Oh, here we go. Yeah, I didn't mention this in the news. Proto, what's up? What's the scoop with the Dawson race car with Transformers? So this isn't actually... The reason why I didn't bring it up, because this isn't something new. Hasbro and Takara have had partnerships with Le Mans, GT, and I think once with NASCAR many times in the past. And this isn't the first time that the Transformer logo or other Hasbro properties have been put onto Formula One, not Formula One. Actually, Formula One's the only one they haven't done, but with other properties. And I mean, this goes back when Hasbro used to do wrestling stuff. They did this huge partnership with NASCAR, where Hasbro and NASCAR and the WWF at the time, they did this partnership with Sparky Plug, and they had a race car that had all the logos on it, and it had Transformers Generation 2 on there, the Transformers Generation 2 logo. And then even recently, I'd have to pull out one of the books here, but when they did the Transformers Alternity line with those little racer girls there and stuff, where it was not Ultra Magnus, it was Fortress Maximus, Optimus Prime, Diatlas, Megatron. Those were all real cars in real life that had Transformer branding on them. And then they even did one more where they did a crossover of Takara with Transformers with Speed Racer with the Project Mach team in Japan. There's a huge history of Hasbro just putting, all kinds of advertising and everything on their stuff. It's all there, man. And so it's not a surprise to see that. My Japanese Zero is my favorite. Yeah, Zero is awesome too. That's a really good mold from GoBots. That's a really, really good one. I wonder which book. Hold on a second. I wonder if I could find the book. I'm going to have to lean over here and take a look. I think it's Hyper Hobby. I have like a whole bunch of Hyper Hobby magazines. I don't know which one it is. But I remember one year, like, it had like this huge interview talking about like all the real life Transformer race cars. And one of the safety vehicles, which was like a free car that they gave to kids, and I managed to pay. I paid too much for it to get it from Azusa. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. We got another super chat from Soundboard. He says, "Do you collect the Play School GoBots?" Yes, I do. I have 2 of the 3. I'm trying to get the very last one, which is the Jet one, but I think it was just called Jet. Actually, you can kind of see it. See, if you look back a little bit, there's you can barely see. There's one of them right there. That's the car one, and then the other one you can't see because it's getting blocked by the couch. But I don't have the Jet one, so I'd like to get that one day. But I want to get it in like good condition, because a lot of times when I find them, all the stickers are damaged and everything. So one day we will hopefully get them all. It's not like high on my list, and it's not exactly something that's really rare. So I'll get it one day. One day it'll happen. Will Toy Armada feature any discussions regarding unmade Hasbro or Kenner toy lines? It's going to be, I don't want to spoil, but the way that it's going to be structured is every single episode is going to be, today we're going to talk about this brand. And it'll be like, and we're not talking like brand like episode 1, like Star Wars. Like, we're going to do it like, we're going to talk Star Wars just episode 1. And the entire process of how those toys were made, and the trials, the tribulations, the movies not doing well, the toys not selling well, how that affected other toy lines, the meetings with different people, why certain characters look a certain way or certain vehicles and stuff like that, just to give you an idea. And we're going to do that with just one individual line. Then we're going to move on to another line and do the same thing, because each one of them has behind the scenes stories, stuff that never got released, all kinds of stuff, why things happen, why does this character have, blue accessories instead of red, like even small little things like that, that'll be enlightening to people to learn. So it'll be pretty cool. Can we get a Sergeant Slaughter Transformer? That would make him in G.I. Joe, Masters of the Universe, and Transformers. And my LJN wrestlers. And the Hasbro wrestlers. That would be cool. Sergeant Slaughter is kind of funny with his branding, because I don't know if I could talk about that publicly. That, you know what? Forget what I said about that, because there's still stuff that's not public yet. Yeah, we'll get into that another time. I was just thinking about that. Sometimes I forget what's public and what isn't. Anyways, let's just say something's coming. Someone says, let's see, Victoria says Zod's your favorite GoBot. Zod has a very interesting design. Comes with that screwdriver accessory that you got to use to get him to stop dancing. That was the funny thing with Zod, I actually have here, I want to show you guys this one. Where is it here? Let me grab the book. It's a really good one. Here we go. This is a great book. So the guys who did the Transformers Generation Guidebook, they did a book called Machine Robo Wedge, which is the entire history of GoBots, but exactly like the Transformers Generations Guidebook. But one better, it even comes with a DVD with a whole bunch of commercials and extras and stuff that's binded into the book. But it's like, I wanted to show you guys some pages here. Got to turn around with you. Sit over Papa Proto's shoulder. But like, look, it has just, let's go to the beginning. Like, it features everything, including variants. Like, these were the variants here, the best of collection, getting into the Japanese stuff, and like even get into like the American stuff too. It's a fascinating book. And even the modern era, this is Mugenbein GoBots, Machine Robo Rescue, which was unfortunately stopped by Hasbro. There's Jet. Really cool stuff. Really great book. If you could somehow find it cheap, it's actually one of the Patreon benefits of being part of the podcast is you get access to this book, a digital version of it. But if you want to own it for the DVD and stuff, you'd have to find it online, unfortunately. I'm going to put it back later. My library over there of books of history. But it's a really great book. Really, really great book if you're a GoBot fan. Definitely check it out. There's so much going on there. Let's look at more super chat questions. Let's see. Michael Koo with the super chat wants to know, Proto, how was the Transformers X Jurassic Park mashup possible when Mattel has the Jurassic Park license? I think this is just my theory. I'd have to talk with the people involved with it, and since this news is broke, I've had no time to do any of that. I think it was just a licensing thing. It's kind of like how, like how Sony owns the Spider-Man movie franchise, and Marvel was just able to license Spider-Man in. I think it's the same thing where Hasbro was like, you know what? We're pretty confident we could pay a licensing fee from Mattel and do this line, and it's going to make money. And I agree with them. I really do. I think that, when you really look at the brands that they've done, like, there's going to be some big money with that Jurassic Park one. I think it's going to sell ridiculously well. I really do. I really, really, really do. So I think it was I think it was just something where they got the license. I kind of think it's the same way, because remember how Ninja Turtles had like a crossover with Ghostbusters, and then they did a crossover with WWE, and those are two different companies. Like, again, Ghostbusters is Kenner, which is Hasbro, and WWE is Jax. So it's something where I honestly think I think that there's going to be something going on there. I think that it's probably just a licensing thing more than anything else. Yeah, Hasbro had the license first. Yeah, it was originally a Kenner into Hasbro lapse, because originally they put it under the Kenner emblem, but they didn't make it Kenner in the end, and the first toys were under the Hasbro badge, and then things change, over time. Look at WWE, with Hasbro. But yeah, that's it's a wacky history, unfortunately. Tom Laney says, I would think that they would make money with the two licenses and pay out. Yeah, it's true. Well, see, in the case of Ford, I honestly think when it comes to cars, I think that they don't have to pay a license. I think that some of those car companies, depending on how they sell it to them, I think they're happy to have it done. It's like free advertising. Josh Perez here. I know it won't happen, but we need an Attack Pack TF crossover. Well, Josh, the good news is at least Mattel still has the Attack Pack trademark. They keep that thing alive forever. Once in a while, they'll release die-cast Hot Wheels toys, and they'll just put Attack Pack on it. There actually is, if you can look on eBay and find it, there's an Attack Pack Hot Wheels that is just a pickup truck with tiger colors on it, but it's not the Attack Pack Tiger Slash. It's just they just did that because they just wanted to. So one day, hopefully it'll happen, Josh. Maybe we could do a comic together because I would love to do Attack Pack. I love my Attack Pack. Such an obscure, good little line. We got another super chat from Stinkfist69. Have you seen the Mezco G.I. Joe, Destro, and Roadblock figures? And what are your thoughts? I'm thinking of getting into that line. Yeah, I saw those. They look really cool. I'm hoping that they do like a Baroness, because I saw, like, which characters we have right now? We have like the Cobra Troops, we have Destro, we have Roadblock. Obviously the more core characters like Snake Eyes and stuff. If they do Baroness, that'd be pretty hype. Like Dusty. Dusty's my go-to. Like my go-to. My hot rod of G.I. Joe is Dusty. I love Dusty. You know, Rudat, as he was called in the cartoon. So I hope they do a Dusty. That'd be really cool. But yeah, I think they look really cool. It's one of those things that if Creo still existed, we'd still have, you know, we'd have it there, unfortunately. But Creo kind of unfortunately shit the bed. No pun intended. Josh says that's what they did with Computer Warriors. There's Hot Wheel Computer Warrior. Man, see that's what's so dirty with Mattel. And Mattel did that too with what was it? With the dinosaurs. Why am I blanking? Yeah, Dino Riders. You know? They did that with Dino Riders too. They did like a dinosaur die-cast car, and it was like Dino Riders. And that's how they kept the Dino Riders license. And it was just like, man. Man, oh man. You know, like Mattel, they're so lucky that they have all of these Hot Wheels die-cast molds that they've been milking for like 40 years. Like, no joke, there is molds of die-cast Hot Wheels toys that are on the shelves right now at Walmart that are just repaints from molds that they made in like 1978, you know, of like the Volkswagen Baja, you know, now it's like hot purple. Like they milk those, and then they completely give it a trademark that they're holding on to, and they'll be like, we haven't done anything with He-Man in a while. Let's make the Randor, you know, Hot Wheel, which, by the way, right now, there's He-Man Hot Wheels toys. You know, you could buy the box set right now, so no surprise. You know, Mattel is a very interesting entity when it comes from the toy business, and I would love to talk with people who've worked there behind the scenes, and especially not so much old Mattel, but how they're handled today. Because the way they're handled today is very weird. It's very, very weird. Let's see. Let's jump into another. Someone was asking about Roblox. What was that? Someone asked about Roblox. I play Roblox once in a while. There's a really good server that I was part of that was like it was a recreation of famous cities, and I would love to go to it because it was like, you know, you could go hang out in Paris and like overview the Eiffel Tower and stuff like that. Or then you could go to Montreal and hang out in downtown Montreal near the waterfront and Old Port and everything. Like there's really cool creative people with Roblox, and I like it when they create those environments that are recreations of real life places, because it's really clever. Very talented people behind it. It's kind of similar to Minecraft in that kind of extent. Tom Laney wants to know, I would like to see those transforming cube animals and such. I think those look fantastic. Are you talking about, what are they called, the Beast Boxes? I know Pia was talking about those. I think they were called Beast Boxes. They were based off of another third-party line that kind of like folded called BTS back in the day. This was like 2009, and then they became Beast Box later with another group of people. Yeah, Beast Box. There we go. Yeah, it was Beast Box. I remember those because in the early days of TFCon, where there was like a million different third-party companies that we were dealing with, And there were so many, they're like, hey, we're working on this. And then they never, they die like a year later. They should make a Roblox Cybertron open world game. There is some Transformer Roblox stuff. All of them are kind of garbage, though. The best one I saw was someone did like the Ark, and then you could go into the Ark, but they didn't do the details of the Ark. So it wasn't that great. And then you go out of the Ark and you could go through a city, and then there's a space bridge. It's very incomplete in a lot of ways. And I think it's one of those servers that you have to like pay to unlock characters. So, which I could respect people that put the time and energy into it. They deserve to get some kind of money back. Michael Koo says, have a great weekend. Peace out. Thanks again, Michael, for coming. We have 20 minutes left in the stream. A little over 20 minutes. Transformers Titanic crossover. Actually, there's a amazing bootleg called Titanic Bot, which is a Titanic Transformer, and it has a working wind-up motor, so at which you could actually put it in your bathtub, and it would float around and move around. And then when it runs out of steam, it sinks. Doesn't break in half, though. And what's cool is his two bows, they come off and they make little axes. I actually have the Titanic Bot. I would love to own the packaging for it, though, because the box art is really cool, too. I'm pretty sure someone could find it on Google, the images, but really cool stuff. Really, really cool. G1 Mike, what's up, man? Let's see, what else do we got here with the super chat questions? Let me take a look. What was the first toy of the Matrix of Leadership? Removable, technically, was Big Convoy over there. Well, that's Bloody Tusks. But if it wasn't removable, it would have to probably technically be Fire Convoy, I guess. I don't know. That's a tough one. I would have to say probably, you know what, actually, I'm going to go with Big Convoy. Big Convoy was the first one. And if you want to talk Matrix of Leadership, Optimus Prime kind of deal, then the 25th anniversary Optimus Prime. Excuse me, the 20th anniversary Masterpiece Optimus Prime. That was the first one to hit market with a removable Matrix. But then you have PVC stuff that holds the Matrix, like this, from 2001. So, I don't know. That one, we get into semantics. There's a lot of different little things. So that's a tough one. Aaron Archer's here, too. Aaron, we were just talking about the podcast. I was just telling them about what we're working on in the near future. I didn't give all the details, but this and that of what we're working on. Let's see, what else? What else do we got here? How old is Masterpiece Rodimus? Well, which one? If you're talking MP09, that came out in 2010. So that would be 11 years about, pretty much. But aside from that, I do not know about the MP28 came out, I want to say, when did that one come out? That one came out 2016, I want to say. Something like that. Yes to a Titan-class Titanic figure. Ugh. Let's just say that one will be a disaster. That will be a disaster. Hey, Proto, would you like more new characters in Transformers? Oh, 200%. I always want new characters. That's why, like, when we had the Transformers Robots in Disguise 2015 line, even though the toy line was kind of meh and the show was, it had its ups and downs, the one thing I'll never take away from it was it created a bunch of new characters. Like, I want more of Strong Arm. I want more of their version of Polar Claw that never got a toy. I loved all the Decepticons that they made there, So I want more of that, man. I want more of that. Give me the good stuff. New characters, new trademarks, new ideas. Makes the brand fresh. But the sad truth is that we're only going to see that when the brand is not doing well. When all of a sudden the tried and true characters are not making the money, then they go to fresh things. Same thing. They did G2, which was the tried and true characters, the Jazzes, the Sideswipes, the Optimus Primes, the Megatrons, the Bumblebees, the Constructicons, the Combaticons. They went with all the safeness, and it didn't do well. It tanked. Now, granted, obviously Power Rangers came out at the same time and took over the world, and people were paying attention to that. And then not too long after that, the X-Men stuff was really doing well for Toy Biz. So, the focus was elsewhere, so Transformers really came at a bad time with G2. But if that ever does happen again, we're going to have a Beast Wars situation where it'll be new stuff. For sure. For sure. Stinkfist69 says he's loving the new Ultimates Power Ranger line. Yeah, it's actually really cool. It's funny? Like, I was looking at the Trini one, because it comes with the Trini head and the I think it's Aisha or Ashley. Aisha head. But all the accessories that come with it are related to Trini storylines from the episodes. Like, I remember that doll there that she had, that, like, troll doll. So they probably should have included some accessories that were Aisha related too. Let's see. Titan Class Tidal Wave. Man, Titan Class Tidal Wave should totally happen. Like if we get an Armada flavored year in the future, just do Tidal Wave and have it have a little bit of a Nemesis element to it, and everyone will be happy. And then you could retool it into a aircraft character. Then you could do Majin Zarek from Beast Wars 2nd, the movie. There's all kinds of stuff here. All kinds of crazy things. There's a lot of potential. But the rumor is, and again, this is just a rumor, is they're going to try to stop dialing it back on the Titan class, and they're going to do large commander classes, maybe 2 a year instead. Proto Man, your video on the Dinobot Power Rangers crossover was great. Thank you. I almost felt like I gave away too much there. Like, it was literally like I gave them the script for how you could properly, like, if Boom Studios wanted to team up with IDW and do like a multi-issue series of Power Rangers crossover with Transformers, I literally gave them the script there. Like, but to me, it was such an easy thing to write when you just apply logic, like not even thinking about what you're going to do with toys, just like, you're trying to market to 2 audiences of readers, and most of them are casual readers, and the comic book audience is also very thin right now. How would you write it in a way that kind of works with that environment and the I guess the ecosystem of how comic books are today? And it just made sense to me. So I hope you enjoyed. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Maybe someone will steal all my ideas, but either way, it seems like a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to think. I think that was a listener question. It was a Patreon listener question from David Cabal, I want to say, and it was a really good one. David always comes up with really good questions on the Patreon. He always has really good questions that lead to like nice long meaty videos. Let's see here. We got Michael wants to know, does gold plastic hold up better in the 80s and 90s? See, and even Aaron could talk about this. Actually, I think me and Aaron talked about it in a panel at TFCon once. We touched on it quickly. GPS, it's the swirling of the plastic and how, like, to make it. When we say gold plastic, we don't really mean gold plastic. It's that specific kind of gold plastic. I wish I had the examples nearby because I had a bag of it not too long ago. I was showing someone. But the thing is, it's just the swirly. It's like a swirly kind of plastic that's gold. Oxygen gets in between. It causes fissures, and that's what makes it brittle. Combined with the fact that Transformer toys are a lot more matte, like, like this He-Man toy, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and that's really it. Where a Transformer toy, you're going to, you're doing a lot more twists and turns, with a Transformer toy, and a lot more friction and stuff. So that's why gold plastic is always a nightmare with Transformers, where with stuff like, to give an example, with G.I. Joe Serpentor, he had GPS, but most G.I. Joe fans don't really experience it because outside of the pegs for the peg holes of, like, some stuff for the figures, you don't really see it becoming a common issue. Maverick, which was part of the X-Men Wolverine Toy Biz line in the 90s, he's one of the few Toy Biz versions of GPS, but it's like his armor, and unless you actually, like, grab a piece of his armor and try to, like, break a piece off, you're never going to be in a situation where the arms reach up enough to, like, make GPS happen. If you drop the figure, it's probably going to break, but the armor on it. But I mean, there's a lot of weird examples. It's just that they don't really do GPS today. That's all. They've kind of learned their lesson. The last version that I could think of, although I think someone corrected me, but I think one of the last ones was they did a legend scale Scorponok from the Transformer Michael Bay movies, and it had like GPS on the tail. But there might be other versions. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. There's always like someone makes a mistake and ends up doing swirly plastic again. Actually, you know what? A lot of the Star Wars Transformer stuff suffered from that too. They had a lot of brown plastic syndrome. So with that said, do you think a live action Masterpiece movie would work? And I think you said Master Force instead. I would, look, selfishly, I would love a live action Master Force movie, but I don't think it would work. I think something in a similar vein could work. But I don't think people would receive it well. I think that people would look at it and go, oh, it's just Power Rangers, or it's just Mask. You know, like they'd be like, this isn't Transformers, this is Power Rangers. So I think that you'd have to build such a strong, hardcore Transformer, like, mainstream base that they would know that Master Force is a thing, so that when Master Force happens, it's not out of the question and weird. It's kind of like how with Marvel, you could build up such a strong, core, hardcore, casual fan base. It's funny. Hardcore casual, meaning people that are hardcore to see every movie, but are still casual Marvel fans when it comes to everything else, buying toys, reading comics, watching cartoons. Like, they just only consume the movie media, but as a result, they educate themselves on at least a little bit on what exists outside it. That way they don't look like an idiot when they go watch a Thor movie and they go, oh, yeah, I always knew who Beta Ray Bill is. Yeah, of course. You know, they want to be that guy. So if we had that with Transformers, where you had like this casual fan base that goes to see the movies, if they somehow knew that there was a section of Transformers lore with headmasters and humans and stuff like that and pretenders, which a lot of them don't. You know, a lot of them don't know. A lot of the people that we work with licenses with Transformers don't know that stuff exists. They know 84, 85. That's it. Even 86, like we used to say, like when Megatron gets thrown out of the shuttle at the end of at the end of like the first act practically of the 86 movie, that's when G1 ends for like most companies. It's like they don't think anything really happened after that. You know, so it's like 86 right there. That's when it ends. They 86'd him. No pun intended. How much time we got left? We got 9 minutes left. Oh, man. Man, we got 9 minutes left already. Where are we at? Where are we at with the super chats? We got, hey, Proto, what are your thoughts on Ron Perlman's voicing Optimus Primal in Rise of the Beasts? I personally think it could have been worse voice casting. Well, you know what? Ron Perlman did Optimus Primal in the Go 90 series there. He did that. And I saw how the limitations of that series was that didn't really lead to any kind of spectacular voice acting. I don't like the problem with these movies is the voice acting isn't recorded first and then the animation is recorded over it. There really is this kind of like small booth situation thing, and I don't know. Like I look, I don't hate Ron Perlman. He was fine in Hellboy and all that stuff, but even if they got Gary Chalk, I don't think the way that they do the voice acting for the robots, I don't think it would matter anyways. It's like, look at David Kaye as Beast Wars Megatron, and then look at David Kaye in the Unicron trilogy, and how the voice acting is so different because of the way that the voice acting is done with the ADR and the afterdub process. So I really feel it's going to be kind of the same thing, where I feel that even if they got Gary Chalk, Gary would be castrated by what he could do as a talented voice actor because of how they would allow him to act as Optimus Primal. I honestly, like, I rather Gary get a role in the movie as like a look. You see the Godzilla movie? Gary's in that. You know, Gary was in, what was the other movie that he was in where he was a general? I saw recently. He was in another movie, and I was like, oh, there's Gary. You know, get him as like a military general in a role. Give him a live action appearance. You know, he's so good in those. So like, if he can't be Optimus Primal, at least let him have a walk-on cameo role, and David K too. Get David K on there, that handsome bastard. Yeah, get him on there also. They're both really cool dudes, very awesome individuals that I got to hang out with multiple times. We got a gold super chat from the Axe to the Head. And the gold super chat from Axe to the Head wants to know, sup, Proto? What characters do you fit best in Commander class? There seems to be a disconnect between Hasbro and the fans on price point versus scale. Kingdom Rodimus is not a bad figure. But expectations. Well, again, in the case of Kingdom Rodimus, I mean, it really is also, that trailer is going to eat up a lot of it. I mean, look, anyone who bought MP9 Rodimus back in the day, like, look at that box. Half of the box is the trailer. So, I mean, Rodimus is always going to be one of these things that 50% of the figure is just going to be dedicated to that. Honestly, like, to me, the Commander class is just really good for if you want to do combiners, if you want to do larger characters that really, you know, when you do a Titan, you're kind of in these situations where you're like, well, then what do you repaint it in afterwards? And, you know, do the stores want to dedicate that kind of shelf space to that kind of product? Where with the Commander class, the box is just good enough that you could kind of put it in the bottom of a Walmart display, so you could get away with a lot more, and you could put like 4 of them in the place of one Commander class, one Titan class. So that leads to like characters where, again, we had a Voyager Skylynx, but then we had a Commander class Skylynx. We had a Voyager Jetfire, even a Leader class Jetfire at one point. And now we have a Commander class Jetfire. So it really is something where you can look at some of your Leader class and Voyager figures and go, you know what? You could do a Commander class Overlord one day. Like a nice, big, beefy Commander class Overlord, and actually give it like the little Power Master engines and everything. Like, make something really cool as opposed to just the Titan Returns Headmaster gimmick. You could grab characters like even some of like the larger obscure characters and then do repaints from them afterwards. Something like Majin Zarek. And then for Majin Zarek, you could do a big oversized broadside, and then you could do, like I've mentioned in the past, Tidal Wave. You know, right away you got 3 different, you know, aircraft carrier kind of characters there with this one Commander class. So there's a lot of different things that could be done. But again, the rumor of Commander classes being 2 a year, I think that's going to be more of a reality than we think. Like, there's going to be a lot of different characters that maybe even we can't even think of for Commander class. Like we're going to see... you know, like you mentioned before in the case of Rodimus, so here's a character that really is a Voyager class figure or a Leader class figure with a Commander class budget to build it out. You have a Voyager class Shockwave, and then he comes with a giant lab, you know, with a whole bunch of accessories and stuff. Like, I remember there's a San Diego Comic-Con Transformers Prime exclusive Shockwave that came with his lab, and it was just like cardboard, and it had a little Predaking and everything. It was really cute. I have it in my display. But it's kind of the same thing where I could see them doing stuff like that, where you could have these big crazy accessories, and people will dig it. You know, like, look, if the Centaurion was any indication, like that Centaurion pack where it was a deluxe with a whole bunch of accessories and that sold out instantly, people like that stuff. Horned Owl, Commander class Double Dealer. There's another one. You know, Power Master gimmick, actually have the full blown, you know, transformation and stuff. I could see it done. They'll revisit. I don't think Double Dealer would happen right away. They got to, you know, create some distance from the original Earthrise release. But for sure, I could see it happening. Give it 5 years. They'll do it again. You know, give it 4 years when a trademark is dying and they need to throw it somewhere. Although for Double Dealer to be a high price point figure twice in a row would be interesting. But, I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. To me, like, there's stuff like Star Saber, and then you could repaint Star Saber into a whole bunch of different things. There's stuff like Deathsaurus, all kinds of combiners. You know, Diatlas, Sonic Bomber. You know, you're getting into some of the more obscure stuff. You know, do a Power Master Optimus Prime again, and as a result, the Japanese market could get a God Ginrai and a Super Ginrai, and then a God Bomber and Apex Armor. You know, that could be a deluxe that you buy on the side. That could be a modulator. Enjoy the free stuff, Hasbro. But, you know, there's so many ideas. There's so many ideas that could be done. But again, most of it is dictated anyways by trademarks that are expiring. Oh, we got to do this. That's going up. Oh, we got to do this. And I'm pretty sure it's planned way in advance. They look at the trademarks as a long timeline and then plan things up accordingly, mixed with a little bit of sales and what's selling and what isn't. Where are we at here? Commander class Armada Optimus Prime. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Especially if you work in then a leader class Jetfire on the side to do a combiner and then a leader class Overload. You know, there's so many different things you could do. So many different flavors, especially considering next year will be the 20th anniversary of Armada. There's so much you could do with that. Go see Aaron Archer at a convention and get some stuff signed because it's the 20th anniversary of Armada when the convention scenes open up again. Princeton wants to know again with the super chat. Princeton Phalanx 59. Commander class Space Bridge. Well, see, I would want it still. It has to have something transformable. So, Commander class Space Bridge with Shockwave, and have the Space Bridge transformable. You know, like he's a ring, but somehow they'll manage that the rings could fold and make some kind of weird, like I guess Omega Supreme kind of looking robot mode. With the wings hanging on the back, I guess, like of the Space Bridge ring. I don't know. They could do something like that. There's always, you know what? There's always some kind of clever thing they could do that we're not thinking of that could pop up. I mean, I just threw a whole bunch, but there's obviously stuff that I didn't think of that I'm pretty sure could come up. Let's take one more question because we're almost done tonight. We will take one more question, and the last question will be, let's see. If you could design a new Fusor, 2 for rivalries that Quick Strike... everything's getting pushed up here. Or 2 for a rivalry that Quick Strike and Silverbolt had, what animals would you combine? Not enough dog transformers. So we'll have, let's see, something interesting. Why don't we do a small little terrier? No, let's do something. Let's do a pug. Let's do like an ugly little pug and mix it with a... That'd be a really weird one to mix with a pug. Something that's like ferocious. Like a pug mixed with... like something with like tusks. A rhino pug. With like little... How about a pug mixed with a rhino? So it'll have like the armor of a rhino, but that ugly flat pug face. Because I love pugs because they're so fugly. And have like the rhino horns, but it's on the top of the head. So it's almost like a unicorn, but it's the 2 horns. Be the ugliest thing. And what would his name be? It'd have to be like some weird like name. Have to be like, you know, Hard Pugly, you know, Iron Pug, you know, some weird name like that. And then we'll do one last here. Make a Dinobot commander and then combine them to make the same with the Constructicons. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. You could do that. So anyways, guys, that's it for today. We've hit 2 hours and 1 minute now at this point. Once again, everyone, thanks for coming by to the live stream, answering, you know, a whole bunch of super chat questions here today and all the news and everything. All the people that came in, my YouTube members and my patrons and some of the special guests like Josh Perez and Aaron Archer and everybody. Once again, if you want to support the podcast, patreon.com/protoman. Come join the Patreon, help support the podcast and all the crazy stuff we're doing. Again, be sure to check out the Toy Armada. I'll post the link in the replays of this. It's the other little side project that I'm working on. So be sure to check that out. And again, of course, thanks Symbiote Studio, along with Hasbro, for sponsoring all of the stuff that we do, all the craziness. Everything's awesome. Everything is awesome. And again, thanks everyone who came. Thanks everyone who did the super chats, everyone who sends to the P.O. Box. And I'll see you guys next week. Like always, like I say, roll out.